One thing I really like about this bank is how much everyone genuinely cares about their customers and about the community and about each other. Always trying to put ourselves in the customer's place. What would I expect if I were the customer? And then we try to take it up a few notches from there. And it's kind of like being part of the family when you're banking with us.
Good afternoon. Everybody would please rise. I would like to tell you the order of the first pieces of business before we get started. We will have our invocation and a pledge to the flag. We have three wonderful proclamations to read today. We'll begin with a Teen Pregnancy Prevention Month proclamation, then a Building Safety Month proclamation, and then a Military Appreciation Month proclamation. One read from Governor Perry by Representative Ford Price, who joins us today, and the second by the City Commission that I'd be proud to read. So we will begin with our invocation. We want to welcome Evelyn Dusterhouse with Baptist St. Anthony's Healthcare System. She has her invocation.
We bow our heads, acknowledging, God, that you are in our midst, in our country, our world. May we always turn to you as the ultimate power. We pray for that gift of insight, wisdom that leads our mayor and commissioners and all of our city employees that are there to protect us and look after us. We also give you praise and thanks for the moisture that our area has received, for your protecting hand. We ask you to continue to look after our area. It's good that we can reach out and serve and be there for others, the example of those who serve us in this city. We offer all of this with praise and glory in your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Evelyn, thank you, as always, for being here in our meetings. Thank you. If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to read the first proclamation. It's the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Month. Is there somebody in the audience with this proclamation? Can you come up? Oh, there's Frankie and Myrna. Oh, everybody, okay. And I'll get you to introduce yourselves in just a moment and let someone speak. But let me read the proclamation first. Okay. Well, hi. Whereas Potter County is among several counties in the state of Texas with significantly higher rates of teen pregnancy, and whereas teen pregnancy costs the United States at least $9.1 billion annually, and whereas teen pregnancy has an adverse impact not only on individuals, but on families and entire communities, and whereas teen pregnancy is more than a moral issue and it has become an economic and public health issue, and whereas parents, educators, and the community at large can and do make a difference in the prevention of teen pregnancy, and whereas the standard of behavior and the desired goal we want for our youth is to delay pregnancy until schooling is complete, now therefore we, Mayor and City Commissioners of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2012 as Teen Pregnancy Prevention Month, and call upon all residents to begin a sincere dialogue with teens about the consequences of teen pregnancy. Let's, why don't you introduce your friend?
I'm Myrna Rafton.
Here you sit.
I'm Myrna Rafton, and I'm chair of the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Coalition. And these are people on my steering committee, and I will introduce them. This is Frankie Francel. She is the head of United Way. This is Amy Crispy, and she is in charge of the Worth the Wait program. And she just told me that they're going to have it again in the AISD next year. Valerie Detler, she is with the Amarillo Globe News, and then Marvin and Janice James. And Janice is with Panhandle, well, what is it?
Texas Panhandle.
It changes names.
Texas Panhandle Centers, Children and Star Services.
And Marvin is retired from the ministry, right?
That's right.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Marvin.
Who's here in regards to Building Safety Month? I see Joe Norman, so maybe we guess on that. Okay, whereas the buildings where Americans live, work, and go to school each day are among the safest in the world, protected by the implementation and enforcement of building safety codes. And whereas, although we often cannot foresee or prevent dangerous situations, such as fire and severe weather, the presence of thoughtfully written building codes and the diligence of building safety professionals often prevent such events from becoming tragic. Code enforcement officials, building owners, managers, architects, engineers, and manufacturers of building materials all contribute to building safety. And whereas during the month of May, an awareness campaign will be conducted to reinforce the importance of building safety and the many individuals who contribute their invaluable expertise. Whereas this month and throughout the year, we encourage all citizens to learn more about safety and pay tribute to all who work in this field. Now therefore, we, Mayor and City Commissioners of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim May 2012 as Building Safety Month. And on behalf of our community, we express our appreciation to the Building Safety Department for their tireless efforts in ensuring the safety of all people in our city through fair and effective enforcement of safety codes, given under our hands and seal of office this first day of May 2012. Scott, are you taking over? Absolutely. Yes, sir. Can I do this to you?
Sure, that'd be great.
Scott McDonald, who is head of the Building Safety, Building Safety Department for the City of Amarillo. It used to be called Code Enforcement back in the previous life. No more.
No more, no more. Thank you. I'd like to introduce some folks that are up here today. Lawrence Crowe is with the City of Irving. Randy Schuster, Deputy Building Official. Kevin Robinson, Brad Hoffman, and Mike Waller, all staff with the city. And Joe Norman is the chair of our Construction Advisory and Appeals Board. The Construction Advisory and Appeals Board ultimately helps to make all of those recommendations that turn into the municipal code for the City of Amarillo, to have the codes that we have here to ensure that we have safe and sustainable structures. Often we recognize who police and fire are and what it is that they do. And really it's these folks that make it possible and are preventers. And if we can prevent fire and if we can prevent injury and we can provide safe places to live, work, worship, and play, then we have a better, stronger community. And really hats off to the staff and all of those folks in the community that help us to achieve that mission. Throughout the month of May, we're going to have a series of events with AISD and a kids coloring contest, and Pride and Sutherland's are going to help us do some birdhouses and hot dogs for kids to come out. We're going to have the fire department and smoke trailers, and it's just going to be a grand time throughout the month and a variety of activities. And we welcome all of you into our department. We'll give you a tour of what it is and how it is that we make Amarillo a safer place to live. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to take over here just for a second. I came up from Irving to recognize one of your folks. I'm the vice chair for the Construction Research Center out at the University of Texas at Arlington. Our objective there is much like what Scott explained that the building inspection department and all of those type things do as well. What we do is research projects to help make building safety, all those type things. And our membership, our engineers, architects, builders, building officials, all of the design professionals throughout the entire state of Texas. It was established 25 years ago by Dr. Mathis at the University of Texas at Arlington's Civil Engineering Department, and in an effort not only through our work throughout the years to provide scholarships and other things like that, we want to recognize people that are really good at what they do. You know, every year we give an award to a building official throughout the state. This is actually given every other year, so there's really only about a dozen people in the last 25 years that are building officials that have been recognized in this capacity. Every building official in the state of Texas is eligible. They don't nominate themselves, they're nominated by their peers. And we try every year through a strong selection of candidates to go through and identify what we believe is the best there is. And I'm happy to say that as a result of our work this year, we believe the finest building official in the state of Texas is Scott McDonald from Amarillo. So, and we've got an award here to present to him from the Construction Research Center. So help me congratulate Scott McDonald.
I'm very honored. I've said probably more than I need to say. I'm very humbled and I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here in Amarillo, and there's no place I'd rather be. Thank you all. Thank you.
Well, it is really an honor for me to be able to recognize the people for military appreciation. And I would like to first have everybody that's involved with that to stand up. Now, that doesn't leave a lot of people sitting, but we're going to try and get all of you up here. So if you would come up, it'll make a great picture. And while you're coming up, I want to introduce you. I don't want to bury all the commissioners back there either. Just wait. Why here, let's step over here. I don't know if I can possibly embarrass Ron Clark, but I want him to come over here a little bit. Because in a minute I'll try and do that. First, I want to introduce to you a very special person to our city and to our state, Representative Ford Price. He has gone to Texas legislature and has done a yeoman's effort. He has made us all proud of the effort that he's made and everything that he's done in Austin. And we're very proud to have him here today to read a proclamation from our governor, from Governor Perry. So, Representative Ford Price.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to say how honored I am to be standing up here with all of these veterans from our area. What a privilege it is. I'm rarely at a loss for words, but I am a little bit today because I want to say sincerely from the bottom of my heart how grateful I am for your service. And I know I speak for everybody in the city and in our House district and for the state of Texas. You represent the finest citizens we have. And I cannot thank you enough for your service and your dedication and your sacrifice. And I know that we honor our military this month with Military Appreciation Month. But we also want to honor those not only standing here among us, but those who have sacrificed and who are no longer with us. And I just thank you so much for your service. And it is a privilege for me to read a proclamation from Governor Perry, Governor of the state of Texas. A message from the Governor. With common bonds of selflessness and bravery, the members of our armed forces are a credit to our nation and our state. Their courage and conviction endure in the form of our most precious gift, freedom. As it has been said many times before, freedom is not free, In times of war and in times of peace, the men and women of the United States Armed Forces have faced great dangers and made tremendous sacrifices. America's armed forces tirelessly uphold the ideals of our country and defend Americans from harm. We owe our veterans a tremendous debt of gratitude for their selfless sacrifice. It is my honor to express my deepest appreciation to my fellow veterans for all they have done for our great nation. Therefore, I, Rick Perry, Governor of Texas, extend best wishes to everyone observing May 2012 as Military Appreciation Month. Sincerely, Rick Perry, Texas Governor. With that, I'm going to present this proclamation to Colonel Lindauer. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you very much, sir.
Turn it back over to you, Mayor.
I appreciate you being here, Ford.
Thank you.
It's good to have you, and thanks for the recognition from the governor. I'm going to read this and then try and embarrass this friend of mine back here. We'll see if we can get that. Proclamation. Whereas the freedom and security that citizens of the United States enjoy today are a direct result of the bloodshed and continued vigilance given by the United States Armed Forces over the history of our great nation. And whereas the sacrifice of such members of the United States Armed Forces and the member families that support them have preserved the liberties we enrich this nation, make it unique to the world community. And whereas the United States Congress in 2004 passed a resolution proclaiming May as National Military Appreciation Month, calling all Americans to remember those who gave their lives in defense of freedom and to honor the men and women and all our armed forces who have served and are now serving our country together with their families. And whereas the month of May and June were selected for this display of patriotism because during these months we celebrate Victory in Europe, VE Day, Military Spouse Day, Loyalty Day, Armed Forces Day week, National Day of Prayer, Memorial Day, Navy Day, Army Day, and Flag Day. Now therefore, we, Mayor and City Commission of the City of Amarillo, Texas, do hereby proclaim the period of May 1st through June 14th as a special time to show appreciation for our military and to proclaim it as Military Appreciation Month. To encourage all the citizens to show their gratitude by the appropriate display of flags and ribbons during this designated period given under our hand and seal this day, Mayor and City Commissioners. I could tell you many stories that I've heard from these folks, but we don't have time to recognize all the people who have done so much that live in our city, and so I'll just tell you one sort of funny story. This fella, Ron Clark, I knew in a business association for a few years here, and after knowing him about 5 years, I discovered that he actually flew me around in Vietnam in a medevac dust-off helicopter. He was one of our pilots. Now, he was as crazy then as he is today. And he saved a lot of lives, and he's an unusual individual at the very least. And fortunately, he met Kathy, who has kind of straightened him out a little bit. And, you know, many veterans have these stories that they keep quietly to themselves. They share those sometimes with fellow veterans. But I'll tell you, the accumulation of knowledge and experience and wisdom up here is phenomenal. So I want to congratulate all of you and recognize all the veterans in our city. Proudly, I thank you. Would somebody come up and make a comment and accept it?
This is Lieutenant Garza. He's the operations officer for the MEPS, and he'll accept it.
Captain, come on up. Appreciate you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the operations officer here at the Military Entrance Processing Station. And I want to say it's a great honor for me to be here today. And I receive this on behalf of every man and woman, every branch of the military. Thank you.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Pat Lindauer. I'm the Chief of Flight Operations out at the Bell Plant, and I helped receive the new H-1s and V-22s off the production line for the Marine Corps and the Air Force, actually, as well. It's a great honor to receive this proclamation from the governor. I've been a lot of places in my 22-year career, and I've never been in a
place that was so supportive of the military. Thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you, Captain. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. I won't take too much of your time. My name is Jack Barnes, and I'm the president of the America Support You Texas organization. We are an all-volunteer team, an all-volunteer force to support and honor the men and women who serve our great country in the military, their families, and these precious families of our fallen heroes. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no higher calling in this country than serving in the United States military. Freedom is not free. We must defend that flag every day. And we have kids, if you will, doing that right now on the battlefield in Afghanistan. So we look at this as a privilege, and then at the same time our duty as citizens, as veterans, to honor those who serve. At all of these events, we have an incredible Armed Forces Day banquet planned on May the 19th, and our goal is to honor those who serve by filling every seat in that auditorium, or in the North Exhibit Hall of the Amarillo Civic Center. That's our job for what they do for us. And we do have some very special people that I would like to introduce. First and foremost is Bruce and Rosie Doss. Bruce, would y'all come up here? Yes. These two right here are such a blessing to this organization and to our community. They are the proud parents of Captain Eric Doss, who was the first United States Air Force officer shot down in Iraq on April the 6th, April the 7th, 2003. For what Eric did for this country, we will never be able to repay. But we can honor his memory and honor that sacrifice by being a part of all of these events this month, and we're just proud that they've joined us here today. And we have some other groups that we would like to introduce very briefly. Don Higgins. Don is the commander of the VFW Post 1475, commander-elect. And we have several honor flight veterans here. If y'all would just raise your hand, everybody that's been on the honor flight, Texas Panhandle honor flight, if you'll look around, it was such a privilege to take these men and women on an incredible journey to Washington, D.C. In 2010, out of some 257 honor flights across this country, the Texas Panhandle Honor Flight was recognized as the premier honor flight in the country because we do it right. 3 days, 2 nights, all expenses paid for these men and women. And ladies and gentlemen, we call that a red, white, and blue project. It's about everybody. And so that's our outreach. We need everybody's help to continue that mission because we've got the Korea veterans to go, and we're going to take our Vietnam veterans too for what they did for us. So again, Representative Price, thank you so much. Mayor, City Council, we are very honored. We accept these proclamations with gratitude. And Mayor, again, we appreciate your service for our country. And did I miss anybody that would like to? Hans, come on up here. Friends.
Jack, I'm not as tall as you are. I'm not Hans. My name's Charles.
Charles.
Well, we've heard a lot of aerobatics here today. To all you veterans and your families, all from another veteran, thank you for your service. America is behind you. They support you. And I'm not talking about your organization, Jack. But everybody, I want you to know that there's a feeling of fellowship amongst the veterans that you can't describe it. We've been there, we've done that. And thank you to those families. Thank you.
Listen, one other group I'd like to recognize. Kathy, would you please come forward? Susan Clark, pardon me. Everybody knows me, but I can't get these names straight. Susan, come on up here. Susan represents the Disabled Veterans Organization here in Amarillo. Susan, just a few words, please.
Okay, I can do that. I'm the first female commander that this post has had. We've got 26 counties that my chapter represents, and it's an honor because I am from a very military family. We just had our 4th generation join. And also, I am the president of the Women's Veterans of America also, and we get kind of forgotten, so I wear 2 hats. So thank you, and thank you for the support. If it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't have anything to do.
All right, thank you. Turn off my mic. Another very special group is our combat wounded Purple Heart chapter here in Amarillo. These men and women went to the battlefield and they were injured in the line of duty, and I'm proud to introduce Nathan Wilding. Nathan, jump in.
Thanks everybody for being here. We can't say enough for our veterans. Everybody that had the opportunity to do it and stood up and said, I will, thank them one day, because they did. We've got a special event coming up, May 17th. It's going to be held out at the VA Medical Center. They're going to be dedicating I-40 from New Mexico to Oklahoma as the National Purple Heart Trail. This stretch of the highway, once it's dedicated, will make the longest stretch of highway in the nation dedicated to Purple Hearts. I want to make sure everybody understands, just because we have a Purple Heart makes us a unique group, but that Purple Heart represents every veteran. Just because it didn't take a round on the battlefield or get injured, they're no less than us. So, thanks to all the vets. Thank you very much.
The Texas Pan Am War Memorial is being represented today by Bruce Ellis. Bruce?
We wanted to thank all of you for the support that you've given to troops, and we are having a tribute to the Gold Star families, not only in the banquet coming up with America Supports You, but also at the Texas War Memorial at 10 o'clock on May 19th. You're all welcome. Our Judge Ernie Hudasho will be a speaker, and we'll honor him as well as honoring our troops. Also on May 28th, our Memorial Day celebration will be conducted at 11 o'clock a.m. and our mayor is going to be the featured speaker for that. So we honor him and want you all to come to the Texas War Memorial. Thank you.
We are also going to be honored on the 17th to have the governors from Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico here to dedicate that Purple Heart Trail. So it will be a major event. There's a lot going on this month. We appreciate you all being here. We appreciate the veterans. Thank you all very much. And for my fellow commissioners, thank you for your patience while we do all this. It's important. Thank you. We're done. Thank you all very much. We're going to go ahead in a couple minutes and quickly conduct our commission meeting.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. We're going to go ahead and begin the meeting. Good afternoon and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission held this Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. at the City Commission Chamber on the 3rd floor of City Hall. The first item of business on today's agenda is the minutes. Attached are a copy of the minutes. Those minutes are related to the meeting from April 24, 2012. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move for approval of minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the minutes as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Second item is ordinance number 7330. This is a first reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of Lot 6D, Block 42, Westgate Mall Addition, Unit number 2 in Section 42, Block 9, BS&F, Survey, Potter County, in the vicinity of Interstate 40 and Sonsi Road, Loop 335, from Plan Development District 801 Series to amended Plan Development District for a freestanding sign. This is recommended for approval by a 6-1 vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And could we get a quick presentation of what that is?
Certainly, Mr. Shaw, could you take us through that, please?
Be happy to. Basically, in 1998, Plan Development 108 was amended to allow a 40-foot high, 350 square foot multi-tenant sign to be used for 3 tracts of land, which basically are the tract we're on the border, and Pier 1 Imports and Toys R Us currently are in business. The current request is to allow the site we're on the border restaurant is to utilize a 60-foot high, 177 square foot sign as individual advertising or as an individual sign for that tract only. The remaining 2 tenants would still be able to use the existing multi-tenant sign. The Planning and Zoning Commission, considering the standalone nature of the building as well as its I-40 frontage, the request was appropriate and recommended by a 6-1 vote to approve the request.
Okay, are there any questions from the audience about this item? Any questions from the commissioners or comments? Not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 7330. I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of motion 7330 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That passes with a 4-1 vote. Ordinance number 7331. This is the first reading of an ordinance vacating a segment of the remaining portion of Southwest 83rd Avenue, adjacent to Westover Village Unit number 1, amended in Section 38, Block 9, BS&F Survey, Randall County, in the vicinity of Southwest 81st Avenue and Coulter Street. This is recommended for approval by a 7-0 vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is really cleaning up an earlier vacation. I don't know if there's any other explanation needed.
That's correct, Mayor. We had previously vacated the majority of that right-of-way. This is a 10-foot strip that was not included.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the audience? From the commission? Not, I entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 7331.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of ordinance 7331 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7332. This is the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 12-4, Section 12-4-5, and 12-4-6 explanation of that?
Mayor, certainly we'd be glad to do so. Ordinance 7332 accomplishes, we hope, two goals. The first is to adjust the weekday fee, weekdays in this case being Monday through Thursday, and then the afternoon and evening fee beginning either at 3 p.m. and extending later, or 5 p.m. and extending later. The purpose of this is that the two golf professionals here in Amarillo, the Parks and Recreation Director and the Assistant City Manager of Finance, have been analyzing the use of the courses. Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, holidays, the courses are pretty much 100% full. We're, however, not that full during the week. This is an attempt to be able to adjust fees to encourage more utilization of those courses, more self-support of those courses, and also to adjust to the changing market that we have in Amarillo. The second thing that this ordinance does is it provides the opportunity to have temporary promotions or special events to further encourage play and to further increase the utilization of those courses.
Okay. Any questions about this item from the audience? Any from the commission? If not, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 7332.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of ordinance number 7332 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. The consent agenda. It is recommended that the following items be approved and that the city manager be authorized to execute all documents necessary for each transaction. A, the purchase Amarillo and airport police uniforms. B, the purchase of irrigation heads and pumps. C, the purchase of police rifles and accessories. D, the award of airport drainage improvements. E, the award of SAC cement annual contract. F, the award of repair of suction pumps. And G, the approval of grant agreement for the Department of Urban Development. Are there any items that need to be removed for separate consideration by the commission? Not entertain a motion?
Mayor, I move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. We now have a presentation of 2012 Every Drop Counts, being water-wise. This presentation is provided as an overview of Amarillo's water usage and the conservation goals and activities of the 2012 Be Water-Wise campaign. And Mr. Dean Friegel will begin that presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Appreciate having us here today. First, I'd like to point out we have a new logo for this year's campaign. It's Be Water-Wise. Our staff internally developed this, but our consistent language is Every Drop Counts. So every year we try and add a new tagline to it to keep it fresh, but the website is still Every Drop Counts. Our goals have been primarily to increase awareness for the need for conservation. Amarillo has a very good water supply right now. The Carson County well field can deliver 34 to 35 million gallons a day. We get another 26 million gallons a day from Cremwa. Our brand new Potter County well field is about 20 million a day. And out of our 1920s well field, what's it, Paladura well field, we could still get 5 to 6 million a day out of that. And this is the time of year we bring that one on for peaking. So our water supply is in the 80 million gallons a day. Consumption, we generally can keep it, even in the worst days, below 80. So we have water, we're doing fine. But there is still the need for conservation. All the water I mentioned is groundwater. It's all pretty much coming from the Ogallala Formation, and it's all depleting. So just because we have a good supply now doesn't mean we don't have to be good stewards of it. So first is to increase the awareness of that. Then we want to promote low water use landscaping. We actually provide some tools to reduce the use of the home. And through our pamphlets and stuff, we provide information and advice on how to reduce your use. Here's the guide. This is last year's guide. We're updating it. This side is English. You flip it over, it's Spanish. We send this guide, notepad, pen with 8 conservation tips on it. In this bag, we fold it up and send it to all our new water customers as a promotion and a welcome to Amarillo. We also include all our payment locations in the bag. I think we've got a total of 26 right now in both English and Spanish in the bag when we send it out. Our strategy was originally to partner with other similar organizations. Panhandle Groundwater comes right to mind. They have the same conservation mission that we have. They also have a nice budget, and it's very helpful to partner with people that also have a budget. Amarillo Independent School District has just joined our Conservation Committee as of last meeting. The Botanical Garden is a member of our committee, and our Parks Department and our utilities. So that was the core people that had pretty much the same mission, but we added our library promotional resources, our community relations person, and even Civic Center event staff. And those were really, I think, the missing keys to the puzzle. Once we got those creative people with bean counters and engineers like Emmett, that really helped us, I think, go to the next level.
Now, who is the bean counter in that?
I'm the bean counter. We always start with our meeting of the top 10. This is 2 years in a row, so I'll say always. The top 10 water customers, Northwest Texas Hospital was good enough to host the meeting of the top 10. We met there, and it was information sharing. We went around the table and talked about what each member was doing to conserve water. And somewhere towards the end of it, the guy, I forgot his name, next to me, taps me on the shoulder and says, "At the rate they're going, you're going to be out of business." And I don't think there's any fear of that, but there was a lot of good ideas, and those top 10 customers are taking it very serious to reduce their water use. This was the first ever water symposium in Amarillo. We had 344 guests, and the city, along with Panhandle Groundwater and some other sponsors, we sponsored it right here in our Civic Center. Floor Price was there. We had a lot of dignitaries and a lot of expertise on water conservation, and different ideas were shared to conserve that valuable resource. We talked about the new welcome bags, and anytime Emmett can get on the radio, he will be talking about water and the need for conservation. About all our city vehicles, we now have a bumper sticker on, and this kind of message is subliminal. You've got to hit them several times with this message, and then it starts making people think a little bit. Another thing we do is a simple thing. We move the fire hydrant testing to off-peak. We learned that last year. The fire department, when in the middle of a drought, was testing the water meters, and they have to test the water meters. They have to know what the flow is. And also, when they open up that meter, the sediment and debris, they also get out of there. So they open it up and they run the water till it's clear, then they very slowly shut it back down so it doesn't burst the main. They have to do that to test the flow, but also to keep the line clean. But we were doing it in the middle of the summer, and now we've moved it to the winter. So it's just as easy to test it then. We do have a website I invite you to go to, Every Drop Counts. Probably the most important thing we do, and at this point we're changing behavior, is this increasing block rate structure. The last two rates are $4.10 per thousand and $4.34 per thousand. So from 30 to 50,000 gallons of water, you pay $4.10 per thousand. After 50,000 gallons, you're paying $4.34. And we hope, we've got another rate increase, I don't like them either, scheduled for next year, but we want to push most of the increase on those top two tiers. Again, that's when you really start changing behavior, is when you get into the pocketbook of those that are really using the water. We don't want to impact so much the person using 5,000 gallons a month. But honestly, I have customers that have $2,000 water bills. I never hear a thing from them. Which hopefully, if we increase that structure, we'll start getting some attention there. We also work with media partners. The Globe News was especially helpful last year with every day on the front page of the paper our goal and how much water we use. So we intend to work that also this year. We've also recognized the groundwater district a couple of weeks ago. We had all the groundwater districts up here and you had a proclamation for them, again, to increase the awareness that all our water is coming from groundwater. We're not getting anything from the lake right now. We also recognize particularly Larry's efforts in the park. He planted warm season grasses. We've got more efficient irrigation. The new golf course that we talked about earlier, its irrigation system will even be better than Wild Horse. So it's more efficient irrigation, and we're retrofitting all the parks with that. The one that's probably the most important is the treated wastewater is used for electric generation. I would like to say I thought of that, but we've been doing that since 1954. We were either the first or the second. Big Springs, and it was neck and neck between us and Big Springs that was first to do that. Right now, we send about 4 billion gallons a year to the electric company for electric generation. In a typical year, we use 16 billion gallons. So if we had to supply the electric companies with fresh water, we would have to increase our production 25% and that much more draw out of the Ogallala. So that's probably the biggest conservation thing that we do, and I'm proud that we've been doing it since 1954. We've been hitting all the high traffic events, whether it relates to water or not. We were at the Remodeler Show with a conservation message. We are partnering with the Botanical Gardens. We did several events with them at the Botanical Gardens. Last week we were at the Regeneration 2012 with our conservation booth. We saw a lot of people there, answered a lot of questions. We'll be doing Business Connection May 10th, and we'll do all the high noon on the squares. We'll have a booth set up there, the Starlight Theater, and Kids Fest. Those are the ones we've targeted so far. And we also have a different message. For adults, we have conservation guides, but for the kids, we have coloring books. And we get these free from the Texas Water Development Board. And so we just supply the colors. But for adults, we have, of course, the conservation guide. And one of our newest giveaways, which I got for you, is the new hand sanitizers. All right. With our Be Water Wise message on them. So we'll pass those out at events like Kids Fest, Remodelers to the adults. We also provide tools to reduce use. We provided, during the winter months, toilet tummies, which is a plastic bag you fill with water. You put it in the tank of your toilet, and it displaces that much water in the tank, and then your toilet uses less water. Little things like water aerators save quite a bit of water. We will pass those out, and they can change their faucet and put on a new aerator. We had low flow shower heads, and leak detection tablets are very popular. We had a lot of those at the Regeneration and a lot of interest in them. You drop the tablet in the tank. If you see color in the bowl, you got a leak and you need to do something. And of course, we have our conservation guide that has tips for both inside the house and outside the house. And then for outside the house, we have a low water use planning guide. The lawn gauges we pretty much get from Panhandle Groundwater. They have these gauges that you can put out on your yard, then you can turn your sprinkler on for 30 minutes, hour, whatever, and it'll show you how much water you're putting on your yard, and you can go back to the guide and see how much you should be putting on it. We've also used low water use plants as prizes. We used that at Regeneration 2012. It was very popular. We're going to do that again at Business Connection. And they have to answer a trivia question or get something right to get a plant. And we also passed out Bermuda grass seed. And for people that had bare spots in the yard, that they could scratch it up a little, put the Bermuda down, and hopefully, that's the same Bermuda we use in the park. It's a very good Bermuda for this area. Now, our to-do list, we've got to review the landscape ordinance. It's kind of a misunderstood ordinance. It does require 85% living ground cover, that's a fact. But that doesn't mean bluegrass or fescue. You could have junipers, you could have English ivy. There's a lot of low water use plants you could use there, but somehow it's been interpreted to be fescue or bluegrass. So we're going to revisit that. We'd also like to develop some radio and TV spots when we hit the hot summer months. The education building at the zoo will have a xeriscape bed, I'm trying to say that right. And we're also going to look to the Environmental Advisory Committee to develop a demonstration bed. And then lastly, we've only got Panhandle Groundwater District in our Conservation Committee, and we're going to invite the other area ones to join us. And now, questions for me on the conservation?
Well, I was thinking, as you were talking about the 10 highest water users, that the city is certainly one, so I'm glad you went over the ways. Number 3, yeah. So I'm glad you went over the ways that the city itself is trying to save water. Last summer, didn't we have, how many days did we have people using 88 million gallons?
We have, the highest day was 88.7 million gallons, and we had, I don't know the exact number, but quite a few that were over 80 million. I'd say at least 6 or 8 days over 80 million.
That's
and that wasn't our record either. We had that didn't beat the record, but it was way out close.
Emmett, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the real metric from last summer that kind of set everybody on edge was 4 consecutive months,
right?
2 billion gallons each.
And
that is not something that the system has been asked to do before.
Yeah, normally we sell 16 billion, and we were about 18.1 billion last year. It was huge. It was a taxing on the system. We made it through in good shape, and we're in a better position this summer than we were then. But it's still like running your car at 150 miles an hour going down the highway. Something starts to break.
And it's not good stewards of the finite resource.
No. Any other questions? How I got on this committee, I'm not sure.
You seem to have adapted to this pretty well. You've got a lot of information about it.
Well, and I've learned a lot.
Well, thank you for doing that. I think the strategy that you've employed to address this issue shows how serious the city is about trying to provide information to the community about how to conserve water. So thank you and your staff for everything you've done on that.
Thank you. I've got a heck of a staff, I've got to tell you that. And now Emmett has some statistics he'd like to go over with you.
I have 2 slides. I do not have a bag of tricks. Okay, the first slide that is up there before you right now shows the 5 most severe drought years in the history of Amarillo. And they include 1933, 1953, 1955, 1970, and 2011. Was that 5 or was that 6? It sounded like more, didn't it? The thing I'd like to point out here is that these are cumulative. January, February, March, and so on. You keep adding the total rainfall, and that's why they all go upwards to the right. You'll notice that the one that doesn't go up very much and is totally separate from the rest of them is 2011. Another thing that's significant about that one, that when I saw the graphic, it really stood out. And that is that it was down and it stayed down. It didn't go up and down like the others did. You see squigglies up and down on the other years there. Please also note that the top one up there, which is I believe the 1955, that was the most rain received within those 5 different years, and it was less than 14 inches. And we have in the neighborhood of 20 inches per year is our average. So even the best of bad times, so to speak, as far as rainfall, was still under 14 inches. And so what we hope we don't see in 2012 is another one of those lazy things that just keeps hanging out at the bottom of the chart. And this is also a very revealing little graphic here. That the overachiever there again is 2011. The blue line that runs below it is an average of the 2006 to 2010 time frame, those 5 years previous to 2011, so that you can get a separation there between 2011 and average for those 4 years, or those 5 years, excuse me. The black line is 2012 to date, and that to date means as of yesterday, the end of April. And you can see that right now, we're tracking very close to the 5-year average. And I vote, although I'm not supposed to vote here, I vote that we stay close to the average for this year. If you have any questions about this, I'll be glad to answer.
I'll second that.
Any questions? All right.
Any comments? I think it's also important to comment, though, that last year, through the efforts of the media and led by our Commissioner, Ellen Robinson Green, to put together a campaign. And although we all took a little bit of ridicule on the campaign.
Mainly just you.
I didn't do what I was told. It really did produce a savings of 8 to 9 million gallons a day from voluntary efforts from very responsible citizens in our city. So if we can promote that sort of thing again, we can continue to conserve water. And I think although it was, we had fun with it, it was an important effort to bring water use down. We need to consider what that effect would be now. Even though we have not quite as much use, we could still stand to conserve water.
That's it. That's good.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I believe that's it for the agenda. So that concludes today's agenda of the Amarillo City Commission. It's however customary at this time to allow citizens of the community with matters pertaining to city policies, programs, or services to speak to the commission. And the floor is now open for any comments. Anyone would like to come forward and make a comment? Thank you for your patience today. Thank you very much. The meeting stands adjourned.